Welcome to Sleep Begins. The day is over, the night is here, and it's time to give yourself permission to rest. Settle beneath your blankets, get comfortable, and allow the noise of the day to slowly fade away. Whether you're settling into bed or simply looking for a moment of peace, you've found the perfect place to unwind. Now, let's begin. Rain softly pattered against the window beside Lucy's bed. Outside, the wind moved through the trees, carrying gentle waves of rain across the glass. The storm wasn't loud or harsh. Instead, it filled the room with a steady, comforting sound. Tucked beneath her blankets, Lucy kept her eyes closed and listened. The rain would grow a little louder, then soften again, creating a calm rhythm that seemed to drift through the morning air. Looks like it's going to be a windy day, she thought sleepily. Still, there was no reason to rush. These quiet moments before getting out of bed were some of her favorites. The world outside was slowly waking up, while she remained wrapped in warmth and comfort. Her thoughts wandered lazily, floating somewhere between dreams and morning. A soft yawn escaped as she stretched her arms overhead. Then she slowly rolled her ankles, first one way and then the other, gently waking them for the day ahead. Taking a deep, easy breath, Lucy filled her lungs with the fresh morning air. She let it out slowly and settled a little deeper into her cozy bed. Just one more minute, she whispered with a smile. Outside, the rain continued its gentle song against the window. The branches of a nearby tree swayed in the breeze, and another light shower brushed against the house. Lucy listened to it all, feeling warm, safe, and completely at ease. For now, that was all that mattered. Days like this always brought a quiet sense of excitement to Lucy. There was something about stormy weather that made the world feel a little more alive. The wind and rain seemed to carry their own sense of adventure, as though they were inviting her to welcome whatever the day might bring. With that thought, she pushed back the blankets and sat up on the edge of the bed. After a moment, she rose to her feet and glanced out the window. Beyond the glass, the town remained wrapped in darkness. Lucy was accustomed to early mornings. Owning the bakery meant beginning her day long before most of her neighbors stirred from sleep. By the time the first lights appeared in nearby homes, fresh loaves would already be baking in the oven, filling the shop with their familiar aroma. At this hour, everything felt wonderfully still. The streets were empty and the houses remained quiet. Even the neighborhood cats were likely curled up in warm corners or resting on their favorite window ledges, waiting for the first hint of dawn. Slipping into a pair of soft slippers, Lucy made her way to the kitchen. The first task of every morning was preparing a hot cup of tea. She filled the kettle and set it on the stove, then leaned lightly against the counter as the kitchen settled into its familiar rhythm. Before long, the water began to hum softly, building toward a gentle simmer. Opening a nearby drawer, Lucy retrieved a small metal tea infuser and filled it with loose black tea leaves. Their rich, earthy fragrance drifted through the room, blending with the comforting sounds of the rain beyond the windows. The tea leaves settled neatly inside the small metal infuser. Lucy closed it carefully, making sure none escaped, then hooked it over the rim of her favorite mug. When the water reached a boil, she poured it slowly over the tea. Tiny streams of bubbles rose from the infuser as it bobbed gently for a moment before sinking beneath the surface. Gradually, ribbons of amber color unfurled through the water, swirling in delicate patterns as the tea began to steep. Lucy wrapped her hands around the warm mug and lifted it toward her face. The rich aroma drifted upward, carrying the familiar comfort of a rainy morning. She paused for a moment, breathing it in. Normally, she would add a splash of milk, but something about the weather made her feel a little adventurous today. Instead, she decided to enjoy the tea just as it was. With her mug in hand, Lucy crossed the kitchen and settled onto the wooden bench beneath the window. It was her favorite place to begin the day. Each morning, she would sit there with her tea and watch the neighborhood slowly wake beyond the glass. On most days, the first hints of sunrise would already be brightening the horizon. Today, however, the sky remained dark and heavy. Thick gray clouds stretched across the town, while the rain swept back and forth in the shifting wind. Every few moments, a stronger gust would send fresh droplets tapping against the window, adding another layer to the storm's steady rhythm. Lucy took a slow sip of her tea and gazed out into the morning, content to watch the rain for a little while longer. Lucy watched the branches of the tree across the street sway in the wind. Every now and then, a stronger gust would bend them a little farther before they gently settled back into place. It's definitely coat weather today, she thought with a smile. She took another sip of her tea, savoring its warmth as it spread through her chest. Beneath the table, she wiggled her toes inside her fuzzy slippers, enjoying the cozy feeling that seemed to make the rainy morning even more inviting. It was the kind of morning she loved most. For a few moments longer, she sat by the window, listening to the rain and watching the sleepy neighborhood beyond the glass. Eventually, her mug was empty. Lucy carried it to the sink, gave it a quick rinse, and placed it on a bamboo drying rack by the window. Although the sun had yet to rise, she knew it was time to get ready for the bakery. After years of opening the shop each morning, her routine felt almost second nature. She rarely needed to check the clock. Somehow, she always seemed to know exactly when it was time to finish her tea and begin her day. Making her way back to the bedroom, Lucy chose a soft gray shirt that seemed perfectly suited to the stormy weather outside. A few minutes later, she headed toward the front door. She slipped into her thick wool coat, fastened the buttons, and wrapped a chunky cable-knit scarf snugly around her neck. The scarf had been knitted for her by Ava, one of her longtime customers, a couple of winters ago. Over the years, it had become one of Lucy's favorite possessions. Whenever she wore it, she thought of the many kind people who filled her life with friendship and warmth. The memory never failed to bring a quiet smile to her face. Outside, the rain continued to fall, but wrapped in her coat and scarf, Lucy felt ready for whatever the day might bring. Lucy pulled one end of her scarf up gently over her chin and tucked the rest neatly into her wool coat. From her pockets, she took out a pair of soft gloves and slipped them on one by one, enjoying the familiar warmth against her hands. The last thing she reached for was her bright yellow umbrella. Now she was ready. She stepped outside and closed the door behind her, pausing for a moment on the front step. The wind pressed against her as she tried to open the umbrella, making it a little stubborn at first. With a bit of patience, the canopy finally popped open, its cheerful yellow color standing out against the gray morning sky. Lucy adjusted her grip and stepped down onto the sidewalk. Rain poured steadily overhead, drumming loudly against the umbrella fabric. Each drop sounded clearer beneath it, like a soft rhythm guiding her through the morning. As she walked, her eyes drifted toward the neighbor's window. The small white cat she often saw there was curled up inside, fast asleep in a warm little bundle. Its pink nose rested beneath its tail, completely undisturbed by the storm outside. Usually, the cat would be awake by now, watching the street with quiet curiosity. But today, it seemed perfectly content to stay wrapped in sleep. Lucy smiled softly at the sight. For a brief moment, she wished she could do the same. Stay tucked away in bed a little longer, listening to the rain from under warm blankets. But then her thoughts shifted. She thought of the familiar faces waiting for her at the bakery, the regulars who stopped by each morning, no matter the weather. And that thought brought a quiet sense of purpose. They were the reason she rose early, rain or shine, to open the doors of the rainy day bakery. Lucy continued down the wet pavement toward town, carefully stepping around the larger puddles that had formed along the sidewalk. Each step was measured and unhurried, the kind of pace that matched the quiet of the morning. The street glistened under the soft glow of the streetlights, reflecting off the rain-slicked ground in muted streaks of light. The sun, however, still showed no sign of breaking through. "It'll probably stay dark until noon," she thought to herself. Ahead, the familiar shape of the bakery came into view. Even in the low light, its brightly painted door stood out against the gray morning, offering a small burst of color along the quiet street. As she drew closer, the sight made her pace feel a little lighter. On mornings like this, the bakery felt less like a shop and more like a refuge. A warm place where people could step out of the cold, shake off the rain, and settle into something comforting. A cup of something hot, a slice of pie or a fresh cinnamon roll, a quiet corner, and a good book. Lucy liked that idea more than anything else about her work, that sense of warmth waiting for people just beyond the door. Some customers liked to sit and chat, sharing stories with both familiar faces and new friends in the warm, welcoming space. Over time, Lucy's bakery had become something more than just a shop. It was part of the fabric of the community, a small home away from home where people could always find a bit of comfort, no matter what kind of day they were having. That thought lingered with her as she walked. Then, suddenly, a strong gust of wind caught her umbrella. The fabric snapped backward with a sharp twist, and the handle jolted in her grip. Before she could adjust it, the rain broke through. Lucy broke into a quick jog toward the bakery door. She reached into her coat pocket, pulled out her brass keys, and found the right one by touch. With a steady hand, she unlocked the door and stepped inside, pulling the slightly bent umbrella in with her. The bakery was quiet and still in the early morning darkness. She closed the door behind her and carefully wiped her feet on the entry mat, trying not to track in too much rainwater. With a soft flick of her hand, she turned on the lights. Warm light filled the small shop, revealing the familiar wooden counters, neatly arranged tables, and the comforting stillness of the space before opening hours. Now that she could see clearly, Lucy lowered her gaze to inspect her umbrella, taking in the small bit of damage from the wind. Fortunately, Several of the metal joints in the umbrella had bent out of place, and the sliding mechanism no longer held the canopy open. It wouldn't stay propped up anymore. With a quiet sigh, Lucy set it down near the entryway. It had served her well for many years, but it looked like it was finally time for a replacement. She had planned to spend the whole day at the bakery, so there wasn't much time to think about shopping for a new one. Still, the idea of a damp walk home later didn't bother her too much. She was used to the weather here. She would simply make the best of it. Taking a slow breath, she let her thoughts settle and turned her attention back to the day ahead. The familiar scent of espresso beans, flour, and pecans still lingered in the air, leftovers from the night before. It was a comforting mix, one that always made the bakery feel alive, even in the quiet hours before opening. On most mornings, Lucy would start with cinnamon rolls without a second thought. It was part of her routine, predictable, familiar. But today felt a little different. The rain tapped steadily against the windows, and the wind moved through the street outside in a constant rhythm. Something about it made her feel less tied to routine and more open to change. She walked over to the seating area and leaned down to plug in a strand of fairy lights. One by one, they flickered to life, casting a soft, golden glow across the room like scattered little stars. The bakery felt warmer instantly. With a bit more energy in her step, Lucy made her way into the pantry. Shelves lined with baking supplies and ingredients stretched before her, neatly arranged and waiting. "What do I want to make today?" she whispered to herself. Yesterday had been blueberry pie, lemon squares, and pecan rolls. The week before that, chocolate muffins, simple favorites that always pleased her customers. But this morning, she wasn't thinking about what others would love. She was thinking about what would make her happy. A few years ago, Lucy had found her grandmother's old cookbook tucked away on a dusty shelf in the family home. The pages were worn and softened with time, filled with recipes that carried the quiet warmth of another era. As she flipped through it, one recipe caught her attention, something she had never tried before. Curious, she marked the page with a small scrap of paper and set it aside. Now, that same cookbook sat on a dark wooden shelf at the back of the bakery's pantry. Lucy walked over to it with a soft smile and gently pulled it down. The familiar weight of it felt comforting in her hands. She opened it to the marked page. The recipe was simple: baked apples. Along the edges of the page, her grandmother's handwriting curled gently in the margins. Faded, but still clear, it read, "Perfect for a chilly autumn day." Lucy lingered on the note for a moment, her fingers resting lightly on the page as she considered it. Across the page, her grandmother had also scribbled small notes, careful corrections to the original recipe, along with little suggestions and adjustments that made the dish even better. Lucy read them slowly, taking in each familiar stroke of handwriting. "This is what I'll make today," she decided. It felt right, something new, but still rooted in comfort. The ingredient list was simple: butter, brown sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, rolled oats, chopped pecans, and a few large apples. She gathered everything and brought it to the counter. The butter was left out first to soften while she began on the rest. The pecans were chopped coarsely and set aside. The oats were measured with steady hands. In the meantime, the oven was turned on. filling the kitchen with a low, warming hum as it began to preheat. Then came the part that required a bit more care. Each apple needed to be cored and hollowed just enough to hold the filling, without cutting it in half. In the margin, her grandmother had written a simple note. Use a paring knife and spoon. Lucy picked up the knife and carefully pressed the tip near the stem of the first apple. She worked slowly, guiding it in a circle around the core, then deeper, loosening it with gentle, patient movements. With a careful twist and a soft pull, the core came free. The hollowed apple looked almost like a small carved lantern. She set it aside and moved on to the next. Soon, the process became steady and familiar. One apple after another, she worked in a quiet rhythm until a neat row of hollowed apples waited on the counter, ready to be filled. Next, Lucy moved on to the filling. She combined the softened butter, brown sugar, cinnamon, and nutmeg in a bowl, stirring slowly with a wooden spoon until the spices were evenly blended. The kitchen filled with a warm, sweet aroma as she worked. One by one, she added the oats and chopped pecans, folding them into the mixture until everything came together in a rich, textured filling. With careful hands, Lucy spooned the mixture into each hollowed apple, pressing it gently so the filling reached all the way to the top. When all the apples were filled, she arranged them neatly in ceramic baking dishes. Then she poured a little water into each dish, just enough to cover the bottom. Her grandmother's note came back to her as she worked, a quiet reminder of why this small step mattered. Finally, Lucy slipped on thick oven mitts and carefully placed the dishes into the preheated oven. The door closed with a soft click, and she set the timer before turning back to her workspace. She had just begun tidying up when the bakery door creaked open. Ava stepped inside, one of Lucy's favorite regulars, and, over time, a dear friend. She offered a warm smile and a small wave before unwrapping her scarf and hanging it over the back of a chair. By the time Lucy reached the counter, a fresh cup of coffee was already waiting. Ava thanked her with a smile and asked how the morning was going. Lucy's face brightened as she told her about the baked apples and her grandmother's recipe, quickly inviting Ava to be the first to try them once they were ready. They talked easily about the weather outside, the steady rain, the wind, and the cozy feeling it brought inside the bakery. Then Lucy mentioned her umbrella with a small sigh. "I don't know if I'll have time to replace it before heading home tonight," she admitted. Ava gave her arm a reassuring pat. "I'm sure it'll all work out just fine," she said warmly, before heading to her table to settle in with her coffee. Not long after, another familiar face arrived. Seamus. Lucy greeted him at the counter, handed over his coffee, and promised him a baked apple fresh from the oven as soon as they were ready. One by one, the morning crowd began to arrive. Some stepped in looking like they had just fought their way through the storm, coats speckled with rain and hair slightly damp from the wind. Others came in carefully, holding folded newspapers over their heads or shaking out umbrellas that dripped onto the floor. Lucy greeted each of them with a warm smile. Coffee, tea, and something sweet. Whatever they needed to start their morning a little easier. The bakery slowly filled with soft conversation, the low hum of the espresso machine, and the comforting smell of baked goods warming in the air. When the timer finally chimed, Lucy turned from the seating area toward the oven. She opened the door and carefully pulled out the baking dishes. The apples were perfectly soft now, their tops golden and glistening, filling the kitchen with the scent of cinnamon, sugar, and spice. For a brief moment, she noticed Ava talking with a few of the other customers. Laughter drifted across the room, though Lucy didn't linger on it for long. There was still work to finish. She gently lifted each baked apple from the water in the dishes and placed them onto individual plates. Then she moved to the refrigerator and took out a carton of heavy cream. Pouring some into a bowl, she added a touch of sugar and began to whisk it by hand mixer. Slowly, the liquid thickened, transforming into soft, fluffy peaks of whipped cream. The mixer hummed steadily as the beaters spun, filling the kitchen with its soft, rhythmic sound. Lucy glanced toward the seating area just in time to see Ava slipping out the door. She hadn't even had a chance to try the baked apple yet, she thought with a small, amused shake of her head. Once the whipped cream formed soft peaks, Lucy switched off the mixer and set the beaters aside. She spooned a generous dollop of cream onto each baked apple, then finished them with a slow drizzle of her signature caramel sauce. The warm scent of baked apples, cinnamon, and sweet cream drifted through the bakery, wrapping the room in a sense of comfort and ease. One by one, she carried the plates out. She set the first in front of Seamus, who offered a quiet nod of appreciation. Then she delivered the next to a small family in the corner, the woman with her newspaper and the man who usually came in for cranberry scones. Each plate found its place with a simple smile and a wordless moment of shared warmth. As she placed down the final serving, Lucy noticed Ava returning through the door. In her hands was a long, thin package wrapped in shiny paper. Ava motioned her over and gently placed the gift into Lucy's hands, along with a handwritten note. To Lucy, from all your friends at the Rainy Day Bakery. Lucy carefully unwrapped the paper. Inside was a brand new umbrella, green with yellow polka dots and a handle shaped like a small duck's head. A soft laugh slipped out before she could stop it. This might be the most cheerful umbrella I've ever seen in my whole life, she said, looking at it with genuine delight. Thank you all so much. She looked around the bakery then. Ava was smiling. So were the others. It wasn't just a gift from one person, it was from all of them. And in that moment, standing in the warm glow of her bakery surrounded by familiar faces, Lucy felt something settle quietly in her chest. A deep sense of belonging. I've got something for you too, Lucy said with a small wink as she handed Ava one of the last baked apples from her grandmother's recipe. She kept the other one for herself. Together, they settled by the window and looked out at the wet, gray morning. The wind still moved through the streets, and the rain kept falling in steady sheets. But inside the bakery, everything felt different. The Rainy Day Bakery held its own little world, tucked gently away from the storm. Lucy lifted her spoon and took a bite of the baked apple, scooping through the soft fruit and gooey filling. It was perfectly spiced, just sweet enough, with a warmth that seemed to linger with every taste. And somehow, it tasted even better knowing where it came from. Her grandmother's careful notes, her quiet guidance, the kind of love that lived on in small details like this. Lucy sat back for a moment, letting the comfort of it settle in. Surrounded by friends, sharing something simple and homemade, she felt a quiet, kind of happiness.